The blizzard hit Frostvale Lodge without mercy, a wall of white that turned the world into a howling void. Inside, the last guests and the skeleton crew huddled by the fire, its warmth a small comfort against the storm rattling the windows. Then a thump. Not the wind, but a solid impact against the main window. A frozen body plastered against the glass for a horrifying second, its face a mask of ice and terror. As they began screaming, the wind ripped the corpse away, swallowing it into the blizzard. That was just the beginning. Headlights cut through the swirling snow as 6 heavy armored vehicles crunched into the lodge's parking lot. Doors hissed open. Figures in tactical gear, faces obscured by masks disembarked. Snowmobiles revved to life, their engines are high-pitched against the storm's bass rumble. Drones worry like mechanical insects as they ascended into the white chaos. The lodge, once a simple roadside stop, was now a military command post. Guests and the skeleton crew were taken by the army helicopter and whisked to safety, leaving the firelight dancing across old wooden walls, casting long, nervous shadows. A generator rattled somewhere below, a constant shaky heartbeat for the operation. The soldiers set up their equipment with practiced efficiency. Thermal screens bathed their faces in an eerie blue glow, each one a window into the cold, hostile world outside. Then, a flicker on one of the monitors. A heat signature appeared near the boiler room in the basement. It was too tall, its posture unnaturally bent, as if its spine was broken in several places. Just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone. Another screen flashed. This one showed the main hall right where they all stood. A new heat source bloomed directly above them. The thick oak beams that had stood for a century in the ceiling split with a sound like snapping bones. A figure dropped from the rafters, landing with a sickening thud beside the fireplace, scattering embers across the hearth. In that instant, the main lights and the generator died together. The lodge plunged into darkness. The world became a strobe of crimson and black. Something shifted in the darkness above. Not footsteps, but a slow, immense pressure in the support beams. The sound of wood groaning under an impossible weight. A soldier raised his weapon, laser sight cutting a red line through the gloom. The line found a target, and then the soldier's body snapped sideways. The shape that had fallen stood up again, its silhouette distorted by the pulsing lights. Its head turned a slow, jerky rotation that went far beyond what a human neck should allow. Its arms stretched, lengthening, joints popping as they extended into the shadows. When it moved, the walls of the lodge bulged outward, as if pushed by a giant hand from within. Tables, chairs, and heavy luggage slid across the floor, crashing into one another. Dark, viscous streaks began to leak from the seams in the ceiling, dripping onto the floor like black rain. A frozen hand severed at the wrist dropped onto a table with a solid clack. Its fingers were still clenched around a tactical radio. Moments later, the entire ceiling collapsed inward, bringing a cascade of wood, plaster, and snow down upon the team. When the dust settled, the lodge was a ruin. The survivors, maybe half the initial force, barricaded the remaining doors with whatever they could find. Overturned tables, industrial freezers from the kitchen, anything solid. The storm outside had only worsened when all of a sudden, one of the armored trucks in the parking lot erupted in a ball of orange flame, the explosion muffled by the snow. Another truck tilted, then sank, dragged beneath the surface of the snowpack by something unseen, its emergency lights blinking out one by one. One of the drone feeds blinked back to life, transmitting a grainy static footage. It showed the roof of the lodge. A figure stood there, silhouetted against the storm. It was human-shaped but hideously wrong. Its skin hung loose from its frame, flapping in the wind like a poorly fitted coat. Its arms were too long, bent at 2 elbows instead of 1. Its eyes, 2 mismatched points of light, blinked independently of each other. It raised a hand, and in a gesture of pure mockery, it waved at the drone's camera. Then the feed cut to black. A low creak echoed from the back of the lodge. The basement door, which they had checked and locked, was now slightly ajar, showing dark, wet stains coated the steps leading down. A small team with their weapons raised descended into the cold darkness below. Old metal lockers lined the damp concrete walls, with their doors hanging open. Heavy chains were bolted directly into the floor, their ends broken. Rusted medical beds stood in the center of the room, straps dangling. Bucket overflowed with human teeth, kicked over and spilled on the floor. Strange, intricate symbols were scarred and burned into the metal walls. One of the soldiers forced open a walk-in freezer. Inside, stacked like firewood, were what looked like human skins. dozens of them perfectly preserved, each with a face frozen in a final silent scream. They were empty husks, human coverings, shed and stored. Back upstairs, one of the remaining soldiers started to twitch. His joints popped loudly, a series of sharp cracks echoing in the tense silence. His fingers seemed to divide, splitting and then reconnecting in new impossible configurations. His own hand, detached at the wrist, fell to the floor and then crawled back up his leg, locking itself back into place with a wet click. Outside, the engine of a lone snowmobile roared to life on its own. The main lodge door, the one they had barricaded, swung open with a violent bang, splintering the frame. Upside down, something clung to the top of the door frame, its form lost in shadow. It dropped to the ground, and the snow in the doorway exploded upward, as if from a grenade blast. The thing, moving with impossible speed, dragged what was left of the self-starting snowmobile under the foundations of the lodge. The entire floor groaned, and the building shook. Without warning, fire washed through the main hall, caused by a broken gas line. The creature caught in the inferno burned. Its stolen skin blackened and peeled away, but it kept moving. It collapsed, rose again, its form shifting in the flames. Dark new shapes crawled through the fire, fresh skin knitting itself together over a charred skeleton. Eyes reformed in its skull. Wide, grotesque smile, built entirely wrong, stretched across its new face. It ran outside and vanished into the woods. The security cameras, running on a backup battery, began to cycle through their feeds. One camera feed lagged, showing the lodge's large water tank. Inside, a body floated, stripped of skin, muscle, and bone. Just a pale, featureless shape. Its face was gone. In the main room, the imposter soldier whose hand had reattached itself froze. Its neck stretched impossibly long. Its mouth split open, wider and wider, revealing not one, but multiple rows of twisting needle-like teeth. The lodge came apart. The walls ruptured. The ceilings broke open. Hands, arms, and faces burst through the wood and plaster. Soldiers pulled into small gaps in the walls, vanishing with muffled screams. Snow poured in from every new opening, and the wind roared through the ruined structure. By morning, the storm had passed. Helicopters circled the wreckage of Frostvale Lodge. There were no heat signatures, no survivors. A single set of tracks led from the ruins into the dense forest. They were strange, the gait unnatural. After 100 yards, the tracks stopped, turned back on themselves, and then simply vanished, as if the walker had been plucked from the sky. Deep within the trees, it watched the helicopters circle. Snow clung to its newly formed skin, as it dressed like one of the soldiers. No one knows where it ended up. It's still at large even today.